60% of my fellow Americans are surviving paycheck to paycheck. And this election wasn't a referendum on Donald Trump like you'd have us believe. In fact, it was actually on whether or not the Democratic Party was going to deliver for us as average Americans. And frankly, you fell short. You lost our trust. The good news is that you can get it back. But the first thing that needs to happen is you have to admit that you have a problem. And then the second thing is you need to start bringing in leadership with people who know what it's like to walk a mile in our shoes. Frankly, that brings you to me. My name is Gabriel Cornejo, and if you don't know who I am, that's okay. But it does speak to a larger issue with the Democratic Party. I'm currently running for chair for the DNC. But more importantly, I ran for president of the United States during this election cycle in our Democratic primary. I was on 8 states' ballots. I only raised $1,000 though, because I am the voice of the average American. And with that voice, I managed to convince 72,000 of our fellow Democrats that I was the right choice to lead our party and hopefully lead this country. But I want to give you more details about who I am, so that way you have confidence that I know what it's like to walk a mile in most people's shoes. I was fortunate enough to enter the workforce during a world financial crisis, which gave me a front row view of the corruption that would take hold of our financial institutions. In fact, I worked at Wells Fargo as a licensed banker, and I was #1 in sales, but that didn't save me from being terminated when I reported the fake accounts being opened that Wells Fargo would eventually be convicted of, which means I could relate to the pain that was being experienced everywhere more than most. Shortly after I moved to California, you see, I was brought on to the nation's largest smart meter project for Southern California Edison, and I was tasked with fixing a failed project to change out 5.4 million meters over 50,000 square miles. And this was my first opportunity to work with unions from IBW to the warehouse, even the call center. I put together a multi-year plan for this multi-billion-dollar project that was hemorrhaging $60,000 an hour. My plan included a bottom-up approach where I walked a mile in all these shoes, from the electrician to the warehouse, and put together a plan that won us Project of the Year and set all these installation records. And then it happened. The moment that would forever change the course of my life. I was in a hit-and-run accident, and this led to me losing my job and my healthcare coverage at the moment that I needed it most. This was the catalyst, though, that led me to understand we're not promised tomorrow. So stop being afraid of what you want and go for it today. So I got to work. But never should you ever go to the college bookstore straight out.
That's Gabriel Cornejo, a student turned CEO.
I built a company to try to give local business owners a chance to compete against Amazon. Because we know what giant monopolies do. Like Walmart, when it comes into a small town, they kill off competition, buy politicians, and there goes our free market, and eventually our democracy. While pursuing that company, I took a month's time off to go help the American Red Cross with the Hurricane Harvey relief effort. I was one of the founders of the Latino Engagement Team, a new division that's still with the Red Cross today. Having experience driving large trucks, forklifts, and even building tech made me very useful for our community. My focus on community was never more important than during the pandemic, where alongside 50 volunteers, we built a non-profit version of Uber Eats meets DoorDash to deliver resources to the community when it needed it most. Unfortunately, we had to stop development because my grandfather's legs and mouth stopped working during the pandemic, and they had a flood. So I moved to Las Vegas, I renovated their home, and I've been here ever since because I will always put family and community first. So you can see I've done a lot in my life, having lived in 11 cities across 2 countries. I've learned that everybody cares about the well-being of their loved ones. And since I've been blue-collared, white-collared, and no-collared, I know what it's like to walk a mile in most people's shoes. Even now, I'm currently driving for a rideshare company while running for chair, which means that I am committed to being the voice for average Americans. But I need for you to hear us. It's time to learn from the mistakes that were made during the primary, because myself and my fellow presidential candidates were kept off the ballots in several states, and that took away the choice of the voter to choose their champion. So all I'm asking for you right now is that you sign the form to allow me to be on the ballot to lay out the blueprint to how we're going to renovate this party. Because together, we're going to restore trust and rebuild prosperity. Thank you.